Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Meat Medic podcast. Now, in today's episode, I have returning guest Dr. Avi Charlton. Dr. Avi, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me again, Suresh. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Always a pleasure to have you back on the show to learn from you. Hey, guys, I'm really sorry to interrupt this show with this ad, but I could not wait to tell you about it. I'm so excited. I have relaunched the website, themeatmedic.com, with our brand new site and brand new community features, as well as new guides and new courses. Make sure you check out the website at themeatmedic.com and sign up free for our community. If you want to take your health to the next level, though, we do have paid membership options available with access to a private podcast with myself, exclusive live Q&A every single week. And if you really want to take it to the next level, you can sign up for our gold tier with free, unlimited access to all courses and all products available on themeatmedic.com. Thank you, guys, and we'll get back to the episode. Now, Dr. Avi, you are a specialist lifestyle GP and owner and founder of the Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. So maybe just for those who haven't caught your previous episode, and I'll put links in the episode description, of course, to that, maybe if you can just give a little bit of background about yourself and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I have been a GP for 20 years. About 5 years ago, I have a personal journey. I wanted to lose some weight myself, and I joined my gym challenge, and I got prescribed a diet of so much carbohydrate, so much protein, and I managed to lose a few kilos, which is what I wanted to lose. So I was so happy that I've lost some weight and I dived into it. That's actually a low carb diet. And I did some more learning with low carb down under. I learned the science, and it happened to be lockdown, so I had lots more time to learn about what low carb science is. And it really makes sense to not eat so much carbohydrates so we can try and access our fat and burn our fat rather than burn the glucose that we eat. And it's been an amazing journey so far. I prescribe lots of low carb diets for my patients in my general practice. And about 18 months ago, I decided that I want to spread the word further. I've started Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. I've branded myself as a low carb GP, and I've met lots of amazing people, and lots of people come in and they're motivated, they want to change, they're ready to start a low carb diet. And these people really get amazing results. I've met lots of other people of the same journey and who are in business in the low carb business. And I've had such an amazing journey so far. And I've started my own podcast in the last few months that I want to spread the word, tell people this is the way to go. What I'm working on is I know that you're into other lifestyle things as well. So I do look at exercise and building muscles, running, stress management. And I've now got a special interest in functional breathing for the last few months. And that's another amazing journey, learning more about breathing properly, not just for stress management, but also for respiratory and lung function, lung conditions as well. And even for children who have even coughs and colds, if they breathe properly, they can actually improve on their coughs, they can cough less, and even have better facial development. So I'm diving into more and more rabbit holes, the low carb journey, functional breathing, stress management, eating, and strength training. There's so much to learn. It's been an amazing journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty similar. Once you learn one thing, you kind of end up going just off on down rabbit holes and tangents, and because your mind is just kind of expanded. There's so much more to learn. We had actually Jared Stevenson on the show fairly recently. I think he's probably going to be the episode before yours actually comes
Oh,
out,
okay.
talking a lot of, Jared, of course.
Yes.
talking about breathing and functional breathing and his take on it, his journey and so on. And yeah, I mean, breathing is something that I mean, I mentioned on his episode there that it's very personal to me as well. I've had issues with breathing, mouth breathing, particularly through the day and at nighttime. And when
Mm.
kind of started taping my mouth, I know you've done this before as well.
Yes.
Whether you still do it or not, I'm not sure, but it made a big difference to how I slept, particularly. And again, that opened my eyes, like so many things. Started talking to my patients about it. It's amazing how many people just don't even need like CPAP, but that you think probably would. And actually, they're just because they're just breathing through their mouth. I mean, it's not like it's a cure for sleep apnea, but many people I think maybe don't actually end up needing CPAP if they actually just learn to breathe properly. But he was saying similar things about kids and facial development, things like bedwetting as well overnight, which is
Oh,
incredible. Could just
okay.
maybe be perhaps fixed with breathing, which is really incredible. And I noticed when I
Mhm.
started breathing through my nose at nighttime as well, taping my mouth, I was having to get up less, to pee as well, which was really interesting actually. Really, really fascinating. How did you kinda get into the breathing? Because that's not a kind of a typical thing for a GP to kind of really get into.
Yeah, no, it's actually through Jared Stevenson. It was actually the keto retreat in Queensland. That particular morning before that day, I was listening to Huberman while I was running in Gold Coast. And Huberman was talking about breathing and he was talking about breath holding and doing box breathing. And I was just randomly listening to breathing about with Huberman. And then with the keto retreat at Queensland hosted by Emma Martin, you were there too.
Mm,
I listened to Jared Stevenson and then I decided to listen to the audiobook by Patrick McKeown, The Oxygen Advantage. So that opened me up and started the rabbit hole that I keep looking into more of the rabbit hole. So I listened to the book, The Oxygen Advantage. Then I did the online course by The Oxygen Advantage and I certified myself as a coach just through the online course. This is maybe last year around August. And it wasn't that hard. It was the science was understandable, and I just recalled some of the science that I learned through medical school. He talked about the three dimensions of breathing that we need to breathe light and slow and deep. And again, breathing through your nose as much as you can, even through exercise, as well as sleeping and during the day. And then I listened to other books, including the one Breath by that. So it's called Breath by James Nestor. So that's another amazing book talking about the history of breathing and chewing and the development of the jaw that we've lost because we're not chewing the food, we're not breathing right. Our jaw development is just not quite right, and so many kids need braces.
mm,
So yeah. So it's so much to learn, and it's been amazing. And I've talked more and more to my patients about breathing, and a lot of patients are getting amazing results. They sleep better, they have better cognition, they function better, concentrate better. And I think we can all improve with our breathing.
mm. Yeah, I mean, you find patients are quite receptive to that message of just simply learning how to breathe a little bit better.
Depends. Sometimes some people want to learn a bit more. Sometimes they think they've got no problem. So sometimes.
Mm. How do you kind of implement that in your day to day? So let's say someone's coming to see you for they just want to feel better. Talk me through like a kind of a normal consultation that you would do for patients.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So of course you take a history and you ask them symptoms and how they're feeling, and you ask them about. So I would ask them about. they maybe ask them about the diet, how they're eating, what sort of food they're eating, and go through all the lifestyle things, maybe exercise, and if they're sleeping right. And tagged into that, sometimes I ask them, are you breathing through your nose or breathing through your mouth? So I lead them into talking about breathing by asking them if they're mouth breathing or nose breathing. So quite a lot of them, they're not aware. So a lot of people wouldn't be thinking about it and they wouldn't have a clue whether they're breathing through the nose or breathing through the mouth. So if I think that that could be the reason why they're not feeling great or tired, then I would get into suggesting them if they want to practice nose breathing. Sometimes that can help. And the more they practice nose breathing during the day, then they can nose breathe more at night. And if they do exercises like meditation, breathing exercises during the day, that can help them improve their brain function and they can help with stress management. They can help to even improve the vagal tone, improve their parasympathetic nervous system. They can even improve their gut health by breathing properly. And if they breathe better at night, they can function better during the day because they would sleep better. So if I think that's the breathing route that I would go down like that, slowly, gently leading them to think about their breathing. But sometimes if they're not receptive, then it depends if they just want a blood test or if they want a checkup or maybe there's other things going on. Yeah, so it can be lots of things to go through.
Yeah. I mean, how do you kind of determine, which patients to talk about with breathing then? Is it something you just talk about with everybody? Or is it something that, someone says that kind of triggers you to, oh, do you have a problem with your breathing?
Yeah, it depends if there's clues coming in. Um, Sometimes you can listen to them and they're breathing heavily, and then you can tell that their breathing isn't quite right, or they might have asthma or a respiratory condition, or if they have anxiety, they might have a breathing problem. Um, Actually, dysfunctional breathing means you're not breathing properly. It's actually really prevalent. It's estimated to be 15 or to 20% of the population have dysfunctional breathing. Just means that they are breathing too fast, too quickly, too much. What happens is if you breathe too much, you blow off your carbon dioxide and your breathing chemoreceptors are not very sensitized to carbon dioxide. So with very little carbon dioxide, you want to breathe. You're breathing too fast. So that is quite often using the upper chest movement rather than using the diaphragm movement. And these people breathe too much, just like eating too much makes you fat. Breathing too much makes you anxious and doesn't help with oxygen being going into your body tissues.
Hmm.
What happens is when your body breathes, so if your body can hold more carbon dioxide, so if you train your lung to hold more carbon dioxide, you actually have more oxygen going into your tissues. This is a Bohr effect found by a scientist that if you have more carbon dioxide, your hemoglobin actually releases oxygen into your body tissues a bit better. So it's actually a bit of science to it. And we want to slow down our breathing for the carbon dioxide we get more oxygen and we get better brain health and we improve our parasympathetic nervous system. So there's quite a few things going on.
Mm. Yeah, I'm kind of smiling a little bit because I'm thinking back to like medical school physiology, and I don't know if it's the oxygen dissociation curve you're
Yeah,
talking about or if that's something a little bit different. I'm kind of vaguely in the
yeah.
back of my mind. I'm like, I'm kind of I know a little bit of this. So I'm
I
kind of
think
smiling.
my medical school days might be much longer than yours, and can't remember much more. But through the
Yeah.
oxygen advantage
We
training, I learned reminded myself about those.
yeah, these are all things that we learn about and then you kind of like just kind of forget, but actually, they do probably make a big difference, actually. So you find that the breath work and breathing work with patients is actually really quite useful to their health journey then, as well as things like the low carb and other lifestyle interventions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It helps to calm them down and helps with their brain health and helps them sleep a bit better. I've in my membership program called Low Carb Pro, I've just run a 10-day breathing challenge. I've given them each day a breathing exercise lasting only 5 to 10 minutes each. And some of the members have reported back it helps them with their calming down and it helps their mental health. And they're feeling much better just by doing 5 to 10 minutes breathing exercise every day.
Mm. No, that's amazing. And then still, despite that, obviously, or sorry, beside that, you're still obviously doing kind of focusing on low carb, medicine for them generally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You mean my membership program or you mean my general
Just in
practice?
general, yeah, that plus also your patients as well.
Yeah, yeah. For my patient, in when they come into the low carb clinic, I get them to book in for 45 minutes. So we get the luxury of much longer time. I go through all the different pillars of lifestyle medicine, their low carb nutrition, trying to get them to eat as good as we can. Quite often they're low carb already, then I'll see what I can tweak. Maybe they're having extra coffees and I tell them to cut back on the coffee. And I
Mm,
go through the exercise, I go through stress management and breathing and sleep. Sometimes you don't think that there's anything to pick up, and then all of a sudden they tell you that they're not sleeping well because they're staying up late playing on the phone. So sometimes you just go through all the pillars and you pick up things that you can tweak.
mm.
So yeah,
How
it's
much, just kind of speaking of the phone, I mean, have you explored like dopamine and like that dopamine rabbit hole at all?
a little bit, yeah. So I've read or listened to the book called Dopamine Nation,
Mm.
and it's talked about all of us seeking dopamine. And
Dopamine.
oh, you've got
I've
it,
got it here. I've
yes,
just I've dropped all my other books on the floor.
yeah.
I haven't actually read that one yet, but it's on my
No,
shelf.
no, I've got it on my Audible. Most of my books are Audible
This is
because I run and walk so much.
Yeah, I should do that. This is a really good one, Dopamine Detox, actually
Oh,
by
okay.
Thibaut Maurice. I think that's how we say his name. Yeah, it's like $8, $9, I think, off Amazon. It's like
Oh, wow.
60 pages. It's super short.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's kind of like right to the point and just exercises, for dopamine. It's actually really, really fascinating stuff. I find myself talking to patients quite a bit actually about dopamine. I think it pertains to a lot of the stuff that they're actually, yeah, dealing with. I mean, just you talking about the phone there at nighttime, just yeah, kind of light bulb for
Yeah.
me, dopamine.
Absolutely, yes. I think we're all addicted to dopamine seeking, like even stress eating or craving for food, picking up the phone all the time. I'm certainly guilty of it. Like I like to scroll on the social media as well. And I think we're just by being aware of this is what's happening in our life, we can be more mindful and maybe try and balance it out and relax a bit more and balance out with other activities like going into the nature, going outside. So yeah, I talk about all that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that book was a really good read for me. Opened my eyes a little bit to dopamine and the issues that it can bring when we're seeking that
Mm,
dopamine hit, and how to kind of prevent that. And yeah, a lot of it is actually just putting down things that you think actually may be enjoyable, but might be actually causing you some issues, like the phone, social media. even things like YouTube and so on. I mean, obviously, watch my podcast, but turn it off otherwise.
And mine as well.
And of course yours. I should have said that. Of course, Dr. Avi's Prescribing Lifestyle podcast as well. And then turn it off after those two. But yeah, I mean, I heard something a while ago which did resonate with me. And I kind of try and follow this. It was be a producer of social media, not a consumer of social
Okay,
media. Now,
yes.
of course,
Yep,
that works when you are a producer, but if nobody consumes it, well, it doesn't really work. But
yep,
I think the point is there, like if you're on social media and so on, like we are, is to use it effectively, but don't just spend all your time just doom
mm,
scrolling, through your phone constantly and
yeah,
just for hours. And that's what people do, hours and hours and hours on their
yeah,
phone.
yeah,
And it does cause them issues. Um,
yeah,
s-
absolutely.
so it sounds like you try and incorporate quite a lot into, your practice and into your patients'
Yeah,
healthcare journeys.
yeah, I try to, but 45 minutes, I think you think it's a long time, actually goes so quickly. And quite often, 45 minutes is still not enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, some of my consults are an hour and they run over. It's just not enough time. Um, I guess that's why I made the podcast. I mean, why is it that you decided to go down that journey? I want to talk a little bit about your podcast now, the Prescribing Lifestyle podcast. Why is it that you decided? Because you're doing so much otherwise, as well. You're still a GP.
Yeah,
You've also got your own clinic now, of course, as well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're doing the membership programs, and you've
yeah,
now got the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I really want to spread the message. And I'm starting to enjoy talking to like minded professionals like you. So I want to meet more people and I want to have them on my podcast so we can all spread the message and learn that way. So, like last week, I had a podcast with Angela Stanton, who's a migraine specialist from America. And I learned a lot about migraine just by meeting her and having her on my podcast. And I'm trying to spread the message to migraine sufferers that they can follow her, they can dig down into that rabbit hole. And I'm hoping just by doing one podcast at a time, I can force myself to research on some particular topic. Today, I have released a podcast on artificial sweetness. So, just by doing that podcast, I force myself to research on that topic and I get to meet different people. So, it's been an amazing journey. Yeah.
I think that's one of the really big advantages about the podcast, and that's certainly what I've learned from doing mine. And I mean, just today there was a good example. I saw a patient in the clinic who had pretty bad PMDD, premenstrual
Mm,
dysphoric disorder,
mhm.
or at the very least severe PMS, probably PMDD. And it was the first time I'd met her. It was a telephone consult. She just needed the sick note for the day off. But she kind of said, "Oh, look, I don't expect you to really give me any useful advice because everyone's told me everything, and there's nothing really that could help me." And I said, "Well, maybe not. Why don't you think about listening to this episode of the podcast and my podcast?" And usually the response is like, "Oh my god, you've got a podcast. That's amazing." And then she was like, "Okay, like what episode?" And it was episode 13 with Dr. Asuji that I had on. This was over a year ago now.
Okay.
And
I
Dr.
haven't. Yeah.
Asuji, yeah, it was really fascinating. Now, I don't know if she was ever diagnosed with PMDD, but she had pretty terrible, kind of menstrual issues. And she found that the more she delved into that low carb diet, the better her issues got. And
Oh,
eventually
wow.
kind of pretty much went full carnivore. And then her issues just completely resolved. And she was spending weeks, in bed, almost. And then to the point where she pretty much just had like a normal life, after that. So I said to this patient, look, why don't you go actually listen to this episode? And I think that's one of the beauties of it is that, yeah, we can learn because I don't know much about
Mm,
PMDD, really before that episode. And I think that's really the benefit. We just get to learn and then we get to spread this message as
mm.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a migraine patient that came in a couple of days ago. I told him about my episode with Angela Stanton. I don't know if he's learned or not because I've told him many times to go low carb and carnivore, but he's still eating sandwiches. So
Mm.
he's not learning. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think all we can do is try and help, you know? As I say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, and I think, you know, we just have to find a way to engage with that patient. I guess it comes back to that, you know, meet them where they're at, which I know we
That's
mentioned on your
it.
show, which makes me
That's
cringe
it.
a little bit, but I still do say it anyway. But I think no, I think with these things, yeah, you gotta just nudge them, you
Yeah,
know,
that's it.
sometimes. So
That's it,
so,
Sharash.
um,
Yeah.
so your podcast, you've now done how many episodes now? Like 8 episodes, I think, something?
It's up to 13
Oh,
now. I
wow, I'm a
think
bit behind
today
then,
is up to
okay.
14.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going
Yes.
strong then, that's good.
I had 5 episodes in the first day, and then I had 2 a week. There's some of them were master classes that I've hosted with my, followers. I had a exercise physiologist, and I had a nutritionist, and a health coach. So they each had a master class. So I really want to put out these, recordings out so people can save them and listen to them. Sometimes if I leave them on the YouTube, they just get lost and
Mm,
nobody watches them anymore. That's
mm.
my hope is, keep the word spreading. That's it.
Yeah, I think podcasts are in a way more accessible than YouTube because YouTube, I mean, there's so many,
Mm.
like just billions of videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get your message out there. But yeah, I think podcasts, people like you said, people can listen to it, you know, running around the park. You know, I know you do park runs quite a lot. This
Yes.
thing you said to Huberman, you know, earlier with the breathing. I think podcasts are a very accessible way of getting that health information out there. What are
Yeah.
some kind of quick tips maybe that you could give people just as far as breathing and some, you know, basic kind of breathing, I don't know, exercises, tests they can do to see if they maybe have issues with their breathing?
Yeah, sure. So the basic tip is breathe through your nose all the time, as much as you can. So I would say during the day, practice breathing through your nose. And even when you go exercise, when you go for a walk, even when you're running or lifting weights, try and breathe through your nose as much as you can. Sometimes for me, it's a half a run breathing through the nose and the other half of a run when I get too exhausted, I breathe through my mouth. And l- pay attention to nighttime when you're sleeping. If you think you're breathing through your mouth, if your mouth is dry, then maybe worth trying to breathe through your nose, and we can tape our mouth and you can try it and see if it helps. It's very cheap. You can just get some micropore and try it. And if it makes you sleep better, then you might want to keep using a mouth tape. There are other tapes that doesn't close your mouth completely. So if you're worried about taping your mouth shut, then you can get some of those tapes that doesn't completely shut your mouth. And I would also suggest trying to slow down breathing as much as you can. And you can do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes of slow, light breathing exercises. And that can help to make you pay attention to breathing, practice mindfulness, and even improve the carbon dioxide sensitivity, the chemoreceptors. So, so that's just a basic exercise, just by being practicing mindful breathing. And then
Mm,
there's other exercises like breath holding exercises, box breathing, or even 4, 7, 8 breaths. So breathing in for 4, holding for 7, and breathing out for 8. So there's heaps of breathing exercises that you can get into, and you can even just look it up on YouTube, or I use Insight Timer. Then you can practice doing those breathing exercises, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. So
mm.
it doesn't have to be very long at all.
Yeah, I mean, I just tried to do that while you were talking there, 4 seconds in, 7 seconds, hold 8 seconds. It's
Yeah.
quite tricky actually, but it wasn't too bad. I mean, I certainly recall saw a patient once who came in with pretty severe anxiety, and she was trying to do
Mhm.
breathing, and she said it was kind of just making her feel worse. And I was like, okay, that sounds a bit weird. Like, show me what you're doing then. And
Mhm.
she kind of just basically just breathed in for, I don't know, like 10 seconds or something, and then pretty much just was holding a breath for like 20 seconds and then breathing
Yeah,
out.
that's
And I was
gone
like,
too far.
she looked like, and she was like, well, I just, she looked like she was just like suffocating
Yeah,
herself, like,
yeah.
like, choking herself or something. And it was like, well, no wonder you're getting more stressed.
There
Basically
are
not happening.
instances that, breathing can make anxiety worse, but,
Yeah, she
I
just looked
think
like she was in so much
yeah.
distress.
I think you've got to just start from the beginner style. Like if you can breathe in for 3 and
Mm,
hold for 2 and then breathe out for 3. So you do what you can and you practice self-compassion and start right from the beginning and don't hold for 10. That's
no,
just too much. You can hold for 2 or 3 or not even holding at all. You can breathe in for 3 and breathe
yeah.
out for 3. That's just easy ways of breathing.
Yeah, that's what I did with her. I said, "Right, okay, let's just forget all that. Just breathe in for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds." And she did it, and she was like, "Oh, I feel so much better already." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you're actually breathing." It's just
Yeah.
people just people take some things to the extreme. They just think, "Well, if I hold my breath, it makes me feel, it's good. I'll just do it for as long as I possibly can." And she genuinely thought that was, what was actually required, to
Yeah,
make her feel better, and no doubt it was making her feel worse. So
yeah.
well, thank you very much, Dr. Avi. How can people kind of find you if they are wanting to come and see you in person or to have a consultation, join your membership program, and so on?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So my website is called Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. It's mlcclinic.com.au. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. The handle is Dr. Charlton Low Carb GP. And I'm also on YouTube. My podcast is called Prescribing Lifestyle, or you can search my name, Dr. Avi Charlton, on all of your podcast channels like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and a few other smaller podcast channels. So yeah, most welcome to follow my journey.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Avi, and I'll make sure I put all those links in the episode description, of course. Thank you so much for you giving your special time this evening. I do really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Great. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure. And thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Meat Medic podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.